Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Jam podcast. I am your host GiGi and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm honored to have you here, and if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. And to all my new subbies, welcome. You are the VIPs indeed, and thank you ever so much for the support. And I hope you and I can share and learn on this journey, because it certainly is not a destination. So, as I mentioned in my previous videos, there are a total of 12 houses, and each house is basically a segment or an area of your life. So, each house has a ruler, and that ruler is any of the 12 signs. And I feel like just because a house is empty does not mean that it will not have a sign that is ruling it, because of course there are 12 parts of a birth chart, so there are 12 signs of the zodiac, so there will be a sign that will be on the cusp of each house. So just remember that, especially to those individuals who do have a couple of houses that are empty. Of course, everybody's going to have a house that's empty, considering the fact that there's only 10 planets. But what I'm really trying to drive home here is that there are certain individuals who have planets in just one house, and that would be considered a stellium. And a stellium is just basically having more than 3 planets in a particular sign, in a zodiac sign, or in a house, in any house part of the natal birth chart. So now we're doing the 4th house, and of course the first house deals with, the physical body, which helps you achieve whatever it is that you are meant to achieve in this realm. And I'd like to think of it as being given a car to travel along this journey. Then you have the 2nd house, which is like realizing, oh shoot, okay, I need some petrol to actually get me to all of these places, or to do all of these things that I'm supposed to be doing in this realm. And now you need petrol. So it's like you start asking yourself, okay, how much is petrol? What can I do to get me some petrol? What can I do to have petrol, for a longer term? You start asking yourself things like that, like how can I afford it, etc., etc. And also, why you kind of value your car, which is essentially yourself, if that makes sense. And then the 3rd house being, the factor where you realize, wow, this car, or my body works in this way. But you also realize that you're not the only one in this realm to help you along your journey. There's other drivers as well, and those drivers could be in the form of your family, your aunts, uncles, and cousins, and also establishing the fact that you can learn from your surroundings. You can learn from your family, you can learn from your teachers. So it's really like the people around you, or even your environment, can really develop your cognitive and creative thinking process. And then we have the 4th house, which is like, wow, okay, who actually made me? Because remember, we've now developed the cognitive, yes, I think that is correct. So now we've developed the cognitive, and it's like, wow, okay, wait. Let's take it back a little bit, It's like, who actually made me? I can achieve, so many great things and do so much, but I just want to understand where it all started. Let's go back to the roots, back to the sperm and the egg, so to speak. And so this is the part where you realize things about, your childhood. You realize things about the home, what type of home environment you'd have or had. So you know who your parents are, and how the experiences that they were able to afford you, those kind of themes. So the 4th house really is about family, and I think the sign on the cusp of that house can give you an idea of what type of household you come from, what type of family you come from, your family structure. Also, the challenges you may have experienced in the home would also be present here. So any type of planets here would paint the full picture, as I'm always saying, would give you a full picture of, your home life, your family life, your childhood, your roots, your family, your cousins, everyone basically who is in your immediate environment, and sometimes even, relatives that are not really within your immediate environment. Or am I getting it confused? I think that's attributed to actually the ninth house, but nonetheless, it's family. So, I have to mention though that I really do feel for those who do have Chiron in the fourth house, because, Chiron is the wound. A lot of people like to say it's the wounded healer, but before anything else, really, it is the wound. So it is that sore spot. And I mean, having it in the fourth house is really, really devastating, because it's like, if you don't have a sense of roots, or if you don't have a sense of knowing where you come from, your background, who your family is, it's really hard to kind of know where you're going, because a lot of people are always saying, if you want to know where you're going, you need to know where you come from. So having Chiron there makes it particularly difficult. But the upside to that is being able to heal others who may have experienced the same kind of trauma when it comes to family and, childhood experiences, childhood traumas, and that kind of a thing. So, whatever sign is on the cusp of this house can give you an idea of, like I said, what type of household you come from. So, if you have any zodiac sign really on the cusp of the fourth house, then I would kind of ask what planets you have in your fourth house. Or if I am looking at your chart, I would examine the planets that are in the fourth house, and also check the aspects that are made to the ruler of that fourth house to give me a better idea of the flavor of, the fourth house and its themes, and what exactly is kind of happening there. And like I said, if you don't have any planets in this house, you or an astrologer can assume that this house is not going to be it's not going to be of any importance or relevance, in this realm, really. It's not going to be a focal point, if I can put it that way. So it could be that your home life is very comforting, but this also depends on the aspects to the ruler of this house, because seeing as you don't have any planets in this house. So, it just indicates that in this realm, your focus should be on the other houses that do have planets in them, if that makes sense. So, so if you have an empty fourth house, my next question would then be, are there any aspects or the next thing that I would look for is, are there any aspects to the fourth house ruler? It's very important to note this, because this is what actually just changes everything in this house and the way that it's actually understood. Because if you realize that there's actually an aspect to the ruler of that sign, then you can now start telling a story, basically. And I think the reason I'd be asking so many questions is just because family dynamics are such a personal part of one's life and have the biggest influence. Like, let's not really even think about everything else, but I think when you're born, the first people that you really look up to, the first people that you are close to are your parents. So, that's a huge chunk of one's life. So I'd definitely be asking all these questions just to get an idea of how that area of life makes that person feel. And having planets such as Neptune or Pluto, even Saturn, sometimes even Mars, it could have made your childhood or even your home life a little bit more challenging. And it doesn't have to be just planets only. It could also be signs on the cusp of this house. So if you have like maybe Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, if you maybe have Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, if you have Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, and if you have Aries, which is ruled by Mars, the home life may have been really challenging or is quite a sore spot for you. So the 4th house is naturally ruled by Cancer, and the ruling planet for Cancer is the Moon, and it's also known as the Imam Coeli. I hope I'm just pronouncing this correctly, but it's also known as the IC. And I think the best way to really describe this house is just intimacy with oneself, or even intimacy, with other people, but not like 8th house intimacy, If you're intimate with someone or people, you are technically revealing a part of yourself. You're technically revealing your soul. And intimacy can mean a variety of things, as I mentioned before, and the intimacy that I'm referring to is definitely not the type of intimacy that is described in the 8th house. It's more about being vulnerable, actually inviting somebody into your home. It's that could be both literally and figuratively, and I think figuratively in a way that when you share certain parts of yourself, you are inviting them to understand you, at a deeper level, at a soul level almost. And when you open up about things that, make you angry, make you sad, happy, excited, all of these things are a revelation of one's soul. And whichever planet is here means that you value the themes of the 4th house. You value the home, you value the roots, the comfortability, you value the familiarity, anything really that relieves you from the outside pressures of the world will be found in this house. And the 4th house is also the deepest part of your chart, so naturally it would be the deepest parts of yourself, your childhood memories that you probably may have even forgotten, because of course I have not met anyone that really can remember their entire childhood. I mean, that would be fascinating, wouldn't it? If you could remember the exact events of what happened in your childhood, that would be absolutely amazing. But I think it's because we're kind of blocked off from having that ability, because we experience so many things on a daily basis. We grow, we mature, we go through certain challenges, and of course, we're living. So, anything that's not growing, anything that's not changing is essentially dead. And we are human, so therefore we are constantly evolving. So I think that's really what kind of limits our ability to kind of recall a lot of the experiences that we had from birth, essentially. So it actually makes me think of the movie Lucy, when Lucy actually, I think it's the part where the drugs actually explode in her system, and she literally goes through I don't know if I should call it a transformation, but anyway, she goes through a process where she can basically even recall the kisses that her mother used to give her when she was still a baby. And she's on the phone and she's talking to her mother, and I think it's Scarlett Johansson who plays Lucy, and she calls her mother and she's like, I remember everything. I remember the kisses that you used to give me when I was a baby. And the mother on the line, her mom, is just like so confused that she would even remember such details. But of course, I'm only bringing this up because I do feel like it is possible. I just think we haven't yet had the opportunity to access those parts of ourselves. So childhood memories are really far and few, honestly they are. But these are the things that would be buried quite deep in the 4th house. This is basically who you are when nobody's watching, and whether that be negative or positive kind of depends on the aspects, and of course on yourself, because you do have free will to kind of make any situation better or negative. So I think we need to take note of that. It's also interesting to note that the moon in astrology represents our inner selves, and that's basically the definition of the fourth house, honestly. Who we are at the core. And for an example, an individual with Leo in the fourth would most probably feel like they've been given the most attention. They might even demand the attention, or they just might feel that they're an oddball at times, or they may feel that the attention that they are getting is because they are, different, or that they're odd. And at times they may even not really understand why the attention is always on them. They may even be an only child. And then maybe like 15 years later, 20 years later, their parents decide to, have another child. And it's like, all of the attention is now all of a sudden not on them anymore. And there's also a significant age gap a lot of the times between them and their siblings. And of course, as I always say, planets and aspects to the fourth house will of course paint the full picture. Someone with Taurus or Libra in this house, in the cusp of this house, may feel that their home is filled with love, and they find that the home environment is really comfortable and enjoyable. It's kind of like easygoing. That's really the part of their lives where they feel like, okay, even if the outside world may be challenging, I know that when I go home, I'll always get the comfort that I need. I'll always be surrounded by, my family, which is quite supportive, and, just a general easy going vibe when it comes to the home environment. And even childhood memories really bring a lot of joy. But as I said, aspects to this house will change how the energy actually influences that particular area of life. But overall, a general view of somebody who would have Taurus or Libra here, it's comfort, it's a lot of love, and even perhaps wealth, because Venus is associated with luxury, it's associated with money, so that could be also a part of that individual's lifestyle. So in essence, the fourth house is about how we're able to understand our own emotions, how you would emotionally even react to your home environment, or how your home environment can make you react to, the outside world as well. And how your home environment responds to you, and what makes you feel at home, in which ways you can actually nourish, heal, and nurture yourself, how you can parent yourself, how you can mother yourself, because as we know, the fourth house and the moon is a maternal figure. Let me put it like that. But yes, the moon does represent the mother, so it's also how you can mother yourself if you feel there were parts of your inner child that were not nurtured, so to speak. It also represents what makes you feel secure and just comfort, overall comfort, security, love, all of those good mushy things. So these are all themes that you can attribute to the fourth house. Also look to see what's in your 10th house. The 10th house is known as the midheaven or the medium coeli. This will just help you further understand the energy of the fourth house and kind of help you to connect the dots just a little bit further. The moon in your chart also helps you to understand what comforts you, your emotional needs, and how you emotionally feed your soul. If the world is really just, weighing really heavy on you, if you're going through some challenges, how you like to break free from the world, so to speak. So I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding or the study of astrology, and I hope you have understood a little bit more about the fourth house and its influence. In my next video, I'll be discussing the fifth house. The fifth house, the house of fun, the house of games, the house of romance. and you know how that influences one's part of the birth chart. And on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you'd like, and if you feel I have brought value to your understanding of astrology. And as always, time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do, so keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light.